Hello and welcome. My name is Dom Martino. You probably know me from the Dom's Corner podcast here on Anorax. Today we're not going to be doing that. This is going to be something a little bit different where I'm just going to be here doing my non-spoiler thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League. Obviously, it's a super anticipated film. Hashtag the Snyder Cut has been released, and it's available for all you guys to watch. We were going to do a full podcast for Dom's Corner where we had a bunch of people in here, a bunch of the faces that you know, talking the Snyder Cut, but that just didn't pan out. And then it was just like Sammy and I were supposed to do a spoiler review for it. That didn't pan out. So this morning, I'm just going to kind of talk my personal non-spoiler thoughts for everybody, and let you guys know what I thought of the film. No spoilers here, but I will try to like go in depth about like how I'm feeling about it, if that makes sense still. Like I'm not going to really hold back on any of my honest opinions about things when it comes to this film. So I think one of the things that I want to point out here is that like a lot of critics have been talking about this movie with real high praise. They were, as of a couple days ago or so, because they were, really just getting screeners at that point, and they all seem to really love this film. I actually, even with that high praise, I don't think that they are praising this film enough, and that's my honest opinion. This movie is a masterpiece. As far as flaws go, I don't have a problem with it. I know that's probably not what a lot of you want to hear. You're probably like, you're just overhyping it. No, I promise you, I don't have a flaw in it. And I'm somebody, by the way, who knew a lot of what was going to happen before going into it. I had been sent spoilers. I looked at them, regrettably. But actually, no, because like when I saw this movie, the things that I knew were going to happen happened in a way that I didn't think they were going to happen. Like they were executed so beautifully in a way that brought a tear to my eye. And then, there were still so many surprises within the 4 hour duration of the film, which let's talk about that for a second. I did not care that it was 4 hours, personally. It didn't feel like 4 hours. Like, you could tell it's obviously a longer movie than what you're used to watching. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not stupid. I know that, when you're sitting somewhere for 4 hours, it's a long period of time. Your brain, obviously notices that. But the difference with this is it's so epic almost all of the time, and you just get so locked in within like probably the first 10 to 15 minutes or so that you don't even care. Because from the second this thing starts, you could tell that there's a huge difference with this film from the theatrical cut, which obviously, if you want my thoughts on that, I didn't like it. You can go check out our review on the channel. We do have that up right now for the theatrical cut of the film. Not a huge fan of that. I do think that there is some fun to be had there, and I do think there are things that work within that film, and I think that those things carried over here pretty well. And usually when they carry over, the things that did work in the theatrical cut, they carry over in an even better way. They are retooled. The tone is different. The color grading is different. There's something different about the scenes that did get carried over from the theatrical cut of the film to here. So for those of you who don't know the backstory, I'll run through it real quick. Zack Snyder was directing the theatrical cut of Justice League. This was pretty much the cut that he had made. Warner Brothers wasn't happy with it as it was, and then his daughter committed suicide, and Warner Brothers kind of took advantage of him, advantage of his leave to kind of retool that film, have Joss Whedon come in and, just retool the film into a 2 hour cut as opposed to Zack Snyder's full vision, which was a 4 hour cut. This full vision, it's definitely a follow-up of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and so many other things that have taken place in the DCEU universe, and that's something that really pays off in this movie. So if you've seen all the other DCEU movies, you're gonna really like how Snyder definitely carried over all the other themes that are coming that come from those films, all the other themes and characters. No, not all the characters. I won't spoil which ones exactly, but a lot of them. And there's a lot that you know of already just based on the trailer or just seeing the theatrical cut. Some of the characters that are definitely coming in from the other films that you've seen. But it feels like the completion to his vision. It almost feels like a wrap up to a trilogy. I genuinely think it's on the level of this. People are going to kill me, and I understand because this movie is so beloved, but give it time. I bet you this movie will be just as beloved. I think it's like Return of the King level stuff here. I know Return of the King is like can't be duplicated to a lot of people. And I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying I think that the level of filmmaking, the level of effort, and the level of thought, level of care, which is already a difference from the theatrical cut, just makes this on that level of, you know, the amount of thought and care that Peter Jackson put into Lord of the Rings. Now you could decide which of the two you like better, but I think you'll see the similarities that I'm talking about. Now, something about this film that's probably going to throw a lot of people off is the fact that it is split up into different chapters. I found this to be a really great structure for it. It reminded me of the Tarantino type structure, and I think that that actually really works. It doesn't feel like a Tarantino movie in tone all the time, per se, just the structure of it felt a little bit Tarantino, you know, in maybe his more linear films, you know what I mean? So that I really actually enjoyed, and it really makes you feel like it helped the pacing of it for sure, you know what I mean? So I enjoyed that quite a bit. I know, like, there's definitely going to be some people that are going to complain about the runtime, but I would actually be surprised if there were many more complaints from people other than just the runtime. For me, the runtime worked, though. I really love the runtime. I was 30 minutes into this thing, and I was so into it that I was like, are you kidding me? I get like 3.5 more hours of this. This is awesome. That's how I was feeling when I was just 30 minutes into this thing. And also, by the way, you know, it's a completely different film when you're an hour and 5 minutes into it and Barry Allen hasn't even showed up yet. You know, obviously Barry Allen he gets introduced in the first 30 minutes of that film, of the theatrical film. So yeah, you could just tell, you could see where honestly Snyder really got screwed here. That's my honest opinion of it. And even though I really wasn't high on that theatrical cut before, now that I've seen this cut of it, like, I never want to watch that theatrical cut again. Like, this is the definitive version of this movie for me. Now, there was a surprising amount carried over from that theatrical cut once again, and that was a really odd experience, and I mean that in the best way possible, because when you're seeing these scenes that got carried over, basically what, you know, you're seeing is you're seeing like them being retooled, kind of as I was mentioning earlier. But not only that, you're kind of looking at those like, those are supposed to go there, It's like you've been looking at the same messed up puzzle for like 3 years straight, and then like now somebody came in and like, no, that's not how you put the puzzle together. This piece is supposed to go here, this piece is supposed to go here, and then when you look at that, you're like, interesting. And then there's just so much more surrounding that. There's many more pieces surrounding the pieces that you've been staring at for the last 3.5 years or so. And so, you know, when you start to see those pieces that surround it, it all comes together and makes one amazing picture. You know what I mean? So that is just part of the beauty to me of this film. So there are some really great, fan servicey type action moments, but there's not like a lot that are just there for fan service. But you will get that fix. You know what I mean? You'll get that fix of things that you didn't like in the theatrical cut. They will get paid off here. Superman's death, like, that gets paid off here. His death in the Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice movie does get paid off in this movie far better than that theatrical cut ever did. So I'll give you guys that much. So yeah, also, I mean, there's so many different things I could say about this film, but, you know, Snyder is a master director. And I think after this, you know, not only, you know, with the situation that, you know, is going on with this film, but just because of how great it actually is, I think he will go down in history as one of the best and one of the most remembered, for sure. And you could tell he put his heart and soul into this, his passion. Now, a lot of people are going to ask me, how is the 4:3 aspect ratio? I can speak for myself. I watched this on a 65-inch 4K TV, and you know, this was formatted in 4K on HBO Max. Didn't bother me. I mean, at first you see it, and then like once it starts, the second it started, I was like, oh, that's beautiful. It looks great. So it didn't bother me personally. Now, if you're gonna watch it on a phone or a laptop, I can't speak for that, or you know, just a PC in general or a much smaller screen. I don't know how that's gonna look. I got to be honest with you. Hopefully, you have a stretch option, because that was one thing on my TV, which I didn't use it. I kept the bars there on the sides, but I do have a stretch option on my TV. If I so choose to use that, I can actually blow it up into full screen. Hopefully people with phones and computers, hopefully you guys have that. If not, I would say just stick it out and power through it, because it's you're going to get so locked into the story that it's probably not going to bother you after a while. So I don't think it's going to be much of a problem for too many people, not as much as, you know, the people that were complaining about it think. You know, I'm not saying it won't bother everybody, but, and that's not, you know, but it's still going to, the story is, I'm telling you, is so good. And it's restructured, it's retooled. Again, there were many moments. I mean, they just made me emotional in the movie too. I mean, especially the ending. I think we've all heard about that tribute that he does for his daughter at the end, and I'm telling you, stick around through those credits so you can hear the tribute, because it's not just about knowing what the tribute is. You got to really hear it, and like, give yourself a moment of silence and just listen to the, you know, those credits all the way through, because it's really heartwarming, and it kind of puts a nice little capper on the entire piece of film. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of came out of this like, this is the best comic book movie of all time. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, and you guys are thinking, well, Dom, you just saw it. No, I'm telling you, this is beyond the level that I could have ever imagined. Bad movies, movies that were initially bad, aren't supposed to become this good, but I'm just so glad that it did. And, you know, it's a toss-up between this and Joker for me, you know, but this might actually take the cake after, upon multiple rewatches, and just more thought. I have to kind of sit on it for a little while, so we'll see what happens, but I do think that this movie is just something special. We'll never see anything like this again. Well, no, maybe we will now, because if this movie is successful, and I think it's going to be a hit, we might see, you know, more like this. But something else that I wanted to bring up about it is the fact that, you know, I just lost my train of thought. I apologize. No. Something else I wanted to bring up. There we go. That was what I was going to say. Is the characters in the film. I kind of want to run through them one by one and tell you guys how I felt about each one of them in this film, and then kind of like compare that to how I felt about them in the theatrical. So let's start with, I think, what everybody, myself included, thinks is like the weakest character in the theatrical version. And for me, it's Cyborg, and I've heard that opinion across the board. Cyborg in this film, it adds so much heart. Like, some people might argue that he is the heart of the film, and I understand now why Ray Fisher was like a big, you know, a big proponent to, you know, trying to get this thing out there, because he has so much more in this movie. He has so much more character development, and I loved his character by the end of it, and that's a great thing, because really did not like his character in the last one. Not that I didn't like his performance, we just didn't get enough time with him to really figure out what that character was, you know, what he was doing, you know, so his character suffered in the theatrical cut, as you guys probably know, from that, and that is all fixed. The other thing I'll talk about is, you know, I know Ezra Miller's a controversial, you know, person in real life. I always enjoyed him as the Flash. I just always wanted more time with him, and I feel like people do need more time with him, because when I saw this, I did feel for him, and, you know, at least in the sense that his so many of his scenes got cut, you know what I mean, and some really amazing, beautiful scenes that actually brought a tear to my eye got cut from the Flash, and I'm like, oh man, see, that kind of heart and emotion should have been in that original cut of the film. So that, yeah, I just really was feeling for him on that. So that really stunk, but I'm glad we got to see it now. And oh my gosh, like his version of the Flash is like, I couldn't think of anybody better for the role now. Obviously, his real life endeavors are probably, or they may interfere with that, or may interfere with people's opinions on the character. And I understand that, you know, he hasn't been up to any good lately, so it doesn't seem like so. That's unfortunate, but you know, we got to kind of take into consideration that, you know, they had him hired for this role prior to all that going down, and I have to be honest about his performance, and it is great. It's phenomenal. He does a phenomenal job. Aquaman also, I mean, I always loved Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Obviously, I've said this in the theatrical cut review, he's playing Jason Momoa, right? The average Jason Momoa type performance, but that works for Aquaman, for what they're going for with Aquaman here. And I found Aquaman to be much more dark in this film. So that was a really interesting thing to go with. But he also does still add levity, so don't worry about it. It's just that they kind of went with the tone with a lot of his scenes that, added such a darkness to it as well. And all this. Speaking of him, like you think about the scene where he walks in the water and then the waves go up in the theatrical cut, and how cartoony that actually all looks. It doesn't look like that here. All that cartoony stuff that I feel like Whedon put into the film, like I feel like it's just all gone, and it all just looks like very dark. And it's a film that also has levity though, like still Ezra Miller's Flash is very funny, but the jokes here, they work. Now you'll see a lot of scenes like that initially had like really stupid jokes in them, in this film, and put back in, but just toned better, and a lot of the stupid jokes have been cut out. And like I can't even count on my fingers and toes how many stupid jokes they put into the theatrical cut, because like when I noticed that they were all gone here, I was like, oh, thank God, you know what I mean, because those just really didn't flow. The jokes that are here, they work very organically. But yeah, Ezra Miller's performance is incredible. We'll talk about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. This is my favorite stuff that Wonder Woman's ever been able to do. I love the first Wonder Woman. Really, actually, I'm one of the few really liked 1984. But this is hands down the best stuff Wonder Woman's been able to do. This is like, we're kind of seeing a different side of her. We're seeing the version of her that's much older now and has evolved through life, and she's learned a lot. And that does definitely play into a lot of the action moments that they give her. And I just loved everything that they were able to do with her. So that is awesome. And then we could talk about, obviously, Ben Affleck's Batman. How is he here? And yeah, they changed his character completely in that theatrical cut, because here he works. He's darker. He still cracks a couple jokes, but I feel like they only kept the jokes that work for him. And because they tone scenes differently, they don't feel as cartoony. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, there's so many scenes, like that bank robbery scene from the theatrical cut with Wonder Woman, like that doesn't feel like as cartoony or funny or anything. Now it's just like badass and it's dark. So keep that in mind, folks. I mean, that's just some of the things that you're going to be getting here is you're going to see like things that you thought were familiar just aren't familiar anymore, because they've done a complete this is the original Vision, and you'll see that the theatrical cut did a complete once over on that, on this Vision, and really just this is a house of cards, and if you take one piece out, it's going to fall on top of itself, and that's unfortunate. I felt like that's why I mean, like every time they utilize something new, like it has purpose, you know what I mean? Anytime something new pops up in the 4 hours, it has purpose, and it's repurposed all the other scenes that they kept from the theatrical cut in this, and it's made them placed in places that are very much more purposeful, and it feels like right, you know what I mean? It feels natural that the scenes would be where they are. So yeah, I was just really thrilled to see that. And even though it felt odd, especially upon first viewing, because it's like you were familiar with something your whole life, and now it's just like, not your whole life, but for 3 years, and it's like, all right, this thing just flipped it on its head. It's like, oh yeah, this is the better way to go with all of that. So that was a really awesome thing. It's not a spoiler, obviously. Henry Cavill's Superman does appear in this film. Again, I love Superman's arc. That's about all I'm going to say. Love Superman's arc. I think it is the arc that we've probably been waiting for. Most people have been waiting for. So, that's fantastic. Lois Lane, we'll kind of get into her a little bit. I thought the Lois Lane stuff was amazing. Like, they added so much more to her and Superman's relationship. She has so many more scenes. Like, you guys have no idea how many more scenes Lois had to kind of pay off the impact of Superman's death, per se. So there was that, and that was awesome. Now, let's talk about who I thought was one of the worst comic book villains and comic book movie villains in comic book movie film history, which is Steppenwolf. Much better here. He has purpose. They really explain his purpose. It's really like out there, and it feels well fleshed out. So his story is awesome, and he feels intimidating by the end of it. You guys will see. I think you'll really enjoy what happened there. And as of course, because you've seen the trailers, you know that Darkseid will show up in the film as well. And Darkseid is cool, you know what I mean? And he has purpose too as a villain, and he is like the big over bad, you know what I mean? He sees over Steppenwolf, you know what I mean? So I think you guys will really love his purpose in the movie and the way that they utilized him. Elephant in the room, though. Let's talk about it. Jared Leto's Joker. Obviously, non-spoiler again. He was in the trailer multiple times. So, what did I think of Jared Leto's Joker in this film? So, if you've seen the Suicide Squad review that's on the channel, you know that my opinion of Jared Leto's Joker is that he wasn't in the Suicide Squad enough for me to really give him judgment. Now, what's really interesting is he's actually probably in this film for a less amount of time. But in that small amount of time, he made a bigger impression, if that makes sense. So I actually loved the direction that they went with his character. Loved it. And there might be like they might have dropped like a big reveal there too, which, by the way, all the talk about we're not going to do a sequel to this, they have to. They have to. They cannot leave this out there, and if it gets received well, they have to do a sequel. Well, and let's be honest, they don't have to do a sequel. They can do whatever they want with it, but it's going to be successful. People are going to sign up for the service and watch this probably multiple upon multiple times. I mean, I hope so. I want to. I'm going to. So, my point is they're going to love what happens so much that they are going to be begging for a sequel. Trust me, this movie begs for a sequel. Whether Snyder follows it up or not, who knows? But you have to follow up the ideas. Trust me. When you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And as much as Snyder said it's a massive cliffhanger, it's not like a massive cliffhanger, but it's just things that you want to see get followed up on. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like you have to see it get followed up on. But if it doesn't, I'm still going to love this movie. I'm still going to appreciate the way that everything went. I still think it's cool. And again, I love all the character arcs and everything like that go on during it. And one of the awesome things is, like, it's the Justice League. It's a superhero team up movie, and we need to really feel the camaraderie between the squad, which is lacking, let's be real, in the theatrical cut. You can really feel it here like crazy, and it's awesome. It was just so awesome, and I loved what they did with the squad. I just thought that stuff worked really well. Also, Martha Kent, plays an amazing role in here too. And you guys are worried, like, Superman mustache stuff. No, trust me, that's gone. Basically, like, the stuff that doesn't work in the theatrical cut, it's gone. Like, it fixed all of my problems, all of them, with the theatrical cut. And that's kind of the goal when you're gonna, like, re-release what is supposed to be an enhanced version of a movie that's already come out. I would think is to really improve upon it, and this movie does that, and it's just so good. I mean, this cut of the movie is a masterpiece. This is like Zack Snyder's magnum opus. Like, and I feel like I have heard some critics say it, but, like, I just don't feel like a lot of critics or people that have seen it are hyping it up enough. So I wanted to get on this morning, give you guys my thoughts. I did actually stay up all night to watch this, so I'm extremely tired. So I probably won't stay on here too much longer, but do have a couple more points that I want to make. So the score, by the way, is completely different. I think Danny Elfman did the one for Justice League, and I like Danny Elfman. I just don't think he meshed very well with the tone, what the movie needed in terms of its tone. So we got Junkie XL doing this one, and it fits the movie so much better. And it just, again, it's a lot of what helps repurpose these scenes and the tone of them. And so, yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and, another thing that's, like, really, really, really phenomenal about it is the soundtrack in terms of the songs too, like the song choices that they chose to incorporate in certain moments, and it just sounds so amazing. And then they just made a lot of great choices with that. So I was so thrilled to see that. So yeah, pretty happy about that. I don't really have much more to say about it. I mean, like I said, it's a masterpiece. The transitions from scene to scene feel more smooth throughout. So even though you're watching like a longer movie, it's paced better. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't feel like we're shoehorning things in. I mean, every character gets their development, their setup, and you will see you need this time to make it happen, because before this we didn't really get solo movies for all these characters like Marvel had. So you will need this time, and they utilized it again, every minute of it, very very well. Also, one last thing in terms of characters, Jeremy Irons as Alfred. He's always great. He's always been like the best part of these movies. I mean, in my opinion, or one of the best parts at least. He was definitely the best part of Justice League, the theatrical cut. So that's no exception here, and he gets extra stuff to do, and I think everybody will be happy with the extra scenes that were also in here for him. So that was a real treat. You know what I mean? I was really happy with that, because I love his rendition of Alfred. He's really becoming one of my favorite Alfreds. I mean, they've all done great in their own right, I feel like, but Jeremy Irons has that something different about the Alfred that he's playing. So did I really talk about Ben Affleck as Batman? Well, I did a little bit, but the other thing I want to add is like he does feel like more consistent because of the way that they retone this movie, retone this familiar scenes is why he feels more consistent with the Ben Affleck version of Batman that I love so much in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So that is something that you guys, if you're a fan of his interpretation in that, you'll probably be happy with that. If not, sorry to tell you, he's about just as dark in this one as he was in that one, with just a little more levity. He does crack jokes; they just feel more natural this time around. But this movie, it has this like these messages of hope, which is like really that really works. With Superman very well, I think, and it feels like the follow up to Man of Steel too. Also, you know what I mean? Because like everybody's been waiting on a Man of Steel sequel. Like this is it. We just didn't know it because that theatrical cut took so much away from the payoff for that character. This feels like the closest thing we might ever get to a follow-up for a Man of Steel, but that's my opinion. So if you guys are Man of Steel fans, I think you're really gonna love everything that's done with Superman in here. But they just knew how to work all the characters really well and work the story very well, build so many pieces around the story that just make it flow. It might be a longer movie by 2 hours, but it's paced so much better than that Justice League film, than the theatrical cut. So I hope everybody's really pleased with this as I was, because I love this movie and I was blown away. I think a lot of your guys' minds are going to be blown with at least some of the stuff that he pulls off. Even if you're one of these that doesn't like the entirety of the movie, okay, you know what I mean? But I think you'll at least like it. I think most people are going to like this more than the theatrical cut at the very least. And I think there are going to be decisions and things that happen that are just going to blow your guys' minds. And I really hope for that to be the result, and I think it needs to be the result. That is the idea of releasing an enhanced film like this, and that's why I was so happy to see, is like it just didn't feel like a gimmick for HBO Max. I mean, obviously everything's a gimmick, right? I mean, you do it for they do it for subscriptions, but Zack Snyder made this movie for passion. He didn't take a paycheck to do this one, and he was just like, if I get to make it in my vision, I'm happy, and that's really inspiring, especially when you watch the movie. You see a lot of the themes that are going on within the film. I think that you're going to be very inspired by the fact that he didn't take a paycheck, but yeah, he put so much hard work, passion, effort into it, and more than most directors do for their comic book films. And you know what? I'll say it right now. If you haven't been a fan of Zack Snyder's, Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, this is probably going to make you appreciate those more, and you'll probably still really enjoy this one. Being real with you, even though I might be indifferent on that, because I do enjoy those films. I do like Man of Steel. Man of Steel, I love. Batman v Superman, the ultimate cut anyway, I really like. The theatrical cut, man, not so much, but that wasn't Snyder's vision, right? So the ultimate cut, I actually really enjoy. So I do like what Zack Snyder's done, but not as much as this. This is like his magnum opus. This is like what we've been waiting for and what should have been released at the start. And I'm sorry, whoever said no to this or didn't think that this was going to work is a total jackass. And I understand movies don't typically get released at 4 hours length, and he probably could have cut barely some stuff down, but no, I'm just so glad we got it at the 4 hour length, to be honest with you, because it needs it to breathe. You know what I mean? It breathes so well that way, and it's just like when you really take the restraints off of Zack Snyder, and it's like when you unleash him, you know what I mean? It's like he's balls to the wall, you know what I mean? And he's just like, he's going crazy with ideas, but it works. He makes it work. He does. Like, I just don't think that, people have understood that in the past. Or not by people, I mean like studio heads, executive producers, and things like that. Just haven't understood, like, no, you got to unleash the beast here. Because when you do, as crazy as some of his ideas may seem or sound, he will make it work. He will transition so much better from scene to scene. So let him just be free. You know what I mean? That's one thing that you need to do with Snyder. I know that there are rules and regulations, but like I think this will prove to a lot of like studio heads and executive producers and things like that Snyder needs to be free. You let him loose. I mean, he will make the movie that you need to have made right now. Might be long in length, but it's going to be one hell of a story, and it's going to be one hell of a piece, you know what I mean? And something that, is going to be remembered forever. And this film, not just about, not just due to the controversy kind of surrounding the behind the scenes stuff with it. I just think the film, because it did end up working and making such an impact, at least for most people, it seems, I think that's going to go down in history as just something that changes the industry. We'll probably see this happen with more movies that were once bad. And, I'm sure Suicide Squad is now probably going to get scheduled after people see this and it gets received well. I'm sure Suicide Squad will get its director's cut finally, like the original Ayer cut. That's what we need to see. And I think that, that they might start banking on the success with that. And, I want to see extended cuts of like maybe even though these are good movies, like why not make extended cuts of like all the Harry Potter movies? I mean, a lot of the book readers have been wanting them, and I would watch them. You know what I mean? Why not for an HBO Max like exclusive thing, even though they're on Peacock right now because of licensing issues, but it will be on HBO Max. Make some extended editions of those and license them to HBO, man, or just something, because or maybe I would really like to see Disney do this for Rise of Skywalker. In all honesty, this is what I want. I think that there's so many different cases where you can make this happen now, and I think that this is going to be a new way of going. And what's really, really interesting is like there's more added to it, but like really when you break it down, we really do all of the same things within the story, so it doesn't change the canon that drastically, but it kind of does too at the same time. But we really do just hit all the story beats in a more fleshed out manner with more information backing it. And again, like I said, there is a surprising amount of stuff in the theatrical cut that will show up here and will look so unfamiliarly, I can't even say that word, familiarly familiar, I guess. I don't know. I think you guys get what I'm trying to say with that. But yeah, Zack Snyder he's a mastermind. He's amazing. He really knocked this movie out of the park. And even me, who liked Man of Steel or loved Man of Steel and really liked Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Cut, I go back and look at those. Whew, they're much better movies now too. This enhanced them. It feels like maybe not a complete trilogy, but a trilogy at best, you know what I mean, and one that works together, one with 3 films that work together within it. So I think that Warner Brothers needs to start looking into getting somebody to do a sequel to this or a follow up or follow these ideas throughout their movies. I just think it would be a big mistake if they don't. So they need to figure this out, because I think that the people are going to be begging for it, and there's going to be a call for it, and you're just going to end up in the same place you did when people found out that this cut even existed of the movie, which is just a bunch of hashtags on Twitter, and you guys gave into that, Warner Brothers. So you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? You don't want to end up in that same spot. You just might as well start right now, looking for a filmmaker to follow this up, or just or maybe just see if Snyder will do it. Obviously he's capable. So that's my thoughts on that. It's visually stunning, guys. A lot of the tone, if you're trying to get an idea, I kind of felt like a Game of Thrones type vibe with the tone. I really did. And I think that's really good. It's like Game of Thrones with maybe just more comedy to it. Like, but it's not like a laugh riot either. Like they do tone the jokes down, but it works better for what the vision is anyway. So, really, really enjoyed that. Never want to watch the theatrical cut again. But also, he did also release, and I haven't seen it yet, the Batman v Superman ultimate cut, but now they've also let him, on top of doing this, put just a couple extra finishing touches on Batman v Superman, and I really want to watch that cut next. Because it's going to be in the 4:3 aspect ratio. It's now on HBO Max, and the other thing is he got to color grade it to match with this Justice League a little bit more. So it's going to be cool to kind of watch those two back to back if I ever have that kind of time. So yeah, but I'm definitely going to watch this one again. I'm going to try to put it back on again today, to be honest with you, at some point, and just, you know, and if I can't get through the whole thing, I really do want to rewatch like my favorite moments from it. But it's something that needs to be seen all the way through, and it's just it's a big puzzle that you cannot take a piece out of. So those are my thoughts on that. And guys, if you haven't done so already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, and share this with your friends. And if you haven't yet, hit that bell for notifications if you want to see more content on the channel. But yeah, guys, just a quick non-spoiler review. I could not keep the thoughts out of my head, and I could not talk about them. So wanted to get on here and let you guys know how I felt, and you guys let me know how you felt about the Snyder cut of the Justice League as well. This has been a long time coming, and it's so crazy that it's actually here and it exists and that it worked. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But I want to thank everybody for joining, and I'll see you guys wherever I am next. So stay tuned. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.